Getting nice, and it's time to get out of the house for some family fun. Lily Putt is open for the season, and you know what that means. Lily Putt is known for its mini golf, go-karts, glow golf, jump pads, kiddie carts, gem mining, and even a new arcade. Lily Putt also has interactive and engaging escape rooms like the Haunted Mansion, the Bunker, or Night of the Wolf. Lily Putt is perfect for parties and group events. Stop by lilyputt.net for more information and hours of operation. Greg Bakun here. I've been talking for a while about how spooky, fun, and fascinating the Minneapolis trolley tours are, but now there's big news. The Candlelight Ghost Tours now begin at the historic Pillsbury Club, a beautifully restored haunted mansion once owned by Charles Pillsbury himself. Believe it or not, the interior is nearly 200 years older than the exterior. How is that possible? You'll have to come out and find out. Before or after your tour, stop by the on-site market featuring a curated collection of handmade goods, artisan crafts, and locally inspired treasures. Perfect for picking up a keepsake to remember your haunting adventure. You'll also find exclusive spooky merchandise from Tales of the Crypt and Elvira. Then climb aboard the climate-controlled trolley as we travel through Minneapolis's haunted hotspots, uncovering ghost stories that locals would rather keep buried. The mansion is restored to perfection, and there is no better way to spend an evening. Visit MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for tickets and more information.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 59. Then Tuesday, showers and thunderstorms expected with a high of 77. Authentic farm-to-table Farmer's Kitchen and Bar connects the local harvest directly to downtown Minneapolis. You can find them right next to the Guthrie Theater on South 2nd Street, open from Wednesday through Sunday. More details at farmerskitchenandbar.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story, this is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope everyone had a great weekend. The weather seemed pretty nice this weekend, at least in the Twin Cities area. I hope people were able to take advantage of it and was able to be outside and do all sorts of good things. I did grill some chicken. As you all know, I like to do a little bit of grilling now and then, and that was a lot of fun. I really enjoy that. It's just a nice way to kind of relax and enjoy the weekend. And we have a busy week coming up here for the station. We're going to be we're getting a lot of stuff ready because AM 950 is going to be at Twin Cities Pride, broadcasting live both Saturday and Sunday. That would be the 27th and 28th. And you can come out and see us at Loring Park. I'm going to be manning the table and meeting people and meeting fans of the station. We're going to be doing that. I'm going to be doing that, I think, in the evening of Saturday and the evening of Sunday. And I'm going to be doing a live broadcast, a live episode of GhostBox Radio at 4 p.m. on Sunday with my guest, Brenna, who runs Moonstone, Minneapolis. It's going to be a great conversation. Now, tonight, was supposed to be a conversation with Father Bob Bailey. Going to be talking about his book, The Art of the Battle. But Father Bob is not here at the moment. I'm going to send him a note, but it's also an hour later where he's at. So I do not have a problem with the fact that maybe he was tired and went to bed, or that he just forgot the time change or whatever else. It happens. And, we'll get him on again at some point. He's been on the show before. If you want to look up the episode where he was on the show with me talking about the conclave where all the archbishops are trying to vote for who the new pope is. We had a great conversation on that because I really didn't know a whole lot about that. And I find some of that mystery that is around the papacy to be very compelling. So I wanted to talk about that, and we had a great conversation. I have a lot of time for Father Bob. First of all, he is like myself. We're both very much into British television and the work that he's been doing. And with this book, The Art of the Battle, which is strategies for battling darkness, I think are things that I think we all find very interesting. So yeah, it's going to be a great conversation. And this is what I want to do tonight. Okay. Why don't we do this? I want to know if you can put it into the comments. Have you ever felt like that you have encountered pure evil? Have you ever encountered something? And please, folks, please do not give me a president's name or an ex-president's name, or, I'm not in the mood for that. Okay. The show is not about politics. And I know that we're very divided as a nation, but I am talking about like something that has maybe confronted you, that you've been somewhere and you get this feeling that is purely like darkness. Or maybe somebody, and they're not maybe purely evil, but they don't seem like themselves, perhaps. That's what I'm curious about. And I want to talk a little bit about some of my experiences where I think that. And, it's people, too, that I've run across over the years. And one of my earliest examples of this is when I went over to the Hannah House in Indianapolis, Indiana, and we talked about the Hannah House a little bit last week when we were talking about the ghosts of the Underground Railroad, and we were talking about that with Jennifer Shortridge. And I'd mentioned that I'd been to the Hannah House, and it was an event put on by psychic medium Ursula Kalin. And she's in the Chicago area mainly. And she put on this event and went out there. And at the end of the night, we were all doing some kind of like exercise. And I don't think it was a Ouija board. I don't think it was. I don't remember what it was, but it was very interesting. And we only had a couple lights on in the room. And she started talking about not in absolutes. She was talking about what she believes happens to a person when they pass away, what happens to their spirit. And I remember this guy sitting next to me, and he looks at her and he says, "You're wrong." And she's like, "What?" He goes, "You're wrong. This is what happens." And he goes on and he talks about it. And it's like, okay. And Ursula is just like, yeah, that could be one thing, one way. He's like, no, this is a fact. This is how it works. And what was really interesting about it, and you could be like, well, maybe it's the light or something, but his face changed when he was telling her, when he was like someone else was talking through him, when he was talking to Ursula. And it was very strange. I won't forget it. And afterwards, a couple of us were talking, and he went off. He did his own thing, whatever. And Ursula's like, I don't know what that was about, because it got kind of weird. It got very tense because and I prescribe to the school of, I don't know what's out there. I mean, I have theories, and you all hear my theories quite a bit, but it doesn't mean that that's what it is. And so with this, he's just like, "You're wrong. This is how it works. You'll find out one day." Stuff like that is just really kind of unnerving. And we're in a house that is very haunted. And unfortunately, a lot of slaves died in it because there was a fire in the Hannah house years and years. I mean, back during the Underground Railroad days, which killed a number of slaves. And so it was already, we were already on heightened alert. In fact, I remember one of the people that was working the event with, Ursula, she's just like, can you just please come downstairs with me to pick up all the stuff that we have down here? I just don't want to do it by myself. Folks, there is no shame in asking that question, regardless how long you've been doing stuff in the paranormal. I'm just going to say that now. There is, some people like to think that there is some sort of code of bravery or something like that, and that they all feel like that they have to be a certain way and they have to follow it. Maybe a lot of times you are, and maybe there's just that one time or two times or whatever that you're like, you know what, I need somebody with me tonight. I mean, I have no shame in saying, and I've told the story before, when Shar and I went out to these woods and we were looking for Sasquatch, and it was the night that we saw what I believe is an alien shadow going up against the one of the trees. I certainly didn't want to be in there. I was certainly not in the place to be in there, and it shortened our time in there. It wasn't her that was feeling that way, but I was, and I have no problem saying that. I have no problem being this person, a host of a paranormal radio show, and some people might think that if, like the same with TV shows, that we don't fear anything or whatever else. I'm sure you don't have any sort of thoughts like that at all, but in case you do, I'm certainly constantly wondering if something I'm doing is the right thing to do, and how is that going to affect safety and stuff like that. In the comments, Beth says, do you think he had an attachment? I think it's more than that. I think he was jumped, quite honestly. And what I mean by that, folks, is that he, like, something came and, got inside him for a little bit and kind of took over what he was saying. Because, like I said, his whole facial features were changed. He looked different. And it was very, and because here's the thing that maybe it's not clear is that we were with him the whole night. We were investigating with him in this small group the whole night. So it's not like we were, not seeing him up until that moment. I mean, we had been interacting, all of us together, the whole night. And I think that's what made it even weirder. I think that's what made it, very strange. And Ursula Kalen is a great medium, and I haven't talked to her for a little while, but she's great. In fact, on a side note, for the class that Shar and I do, I play a bit of audio that she had recorded and I cleaned up from many, many years ago. She was using what we call a Frank's box, and she was crossing over a lot of spirits through this spirit box. And the amount of people in this recording who are saying her name, thanking her for what she's doing, or if she's asking, have you crossed? And you get these small voices that say, not yet. Help, stuff like that. If you just listen to it and you don't know what you're listening for, it sounds like a bit of a jumble of just a lot of stuff. But what we did was I put little, like, words on screen whenever something spoke that was pertaining to what's going on, and it's just actually beautiful. She's very talented. And so this was a very, it was absolutely a great investigation. There was some kind of darkness in the basement. Did it take him over? I don't know. and the other part to it is why get so, why get so, caught up on the point of what happens to our soul or spirit after we pass. It was just such a weird thing that I think that alone is what keeps me thinking about it more and more, because it's such a strange thing, because you can see people getting worked up over a lot of things, but that to the point that it got almost kind of loud and into a fight of some kind, that just seems weird to me. I don't know. That was a long time ago. I haven't been back to the Hannah house since, and that's a beautiful place. That's an absolutely beautiful place to go. And that was also, just on a side note, that was probably the first time I really started to understand that paranormal television, shockingly, may not be real. And the reason why I say that is when I went out there, was talking to the owner of the Hannah house, and he's just like, the Dead Files reached out to me and they want to come and do an episode of my house. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay, that's cool. Is there something, I mean, I know about the Underground Railroad part of it, but is there something currently happening that is causing you a lot of turmoil? Because that's kind of what the premise of the program is. And he said, no. And I told them that. I said, there isn't anything going on here that really warrants you guys to come out. And they're like, we'll find something. Don't worry about it. They're like, don't worry about that. That's not your area. We'll create television. We'll make sure there's something for you there. And I find that to be kind of telling. And like I said, that's probably one of the first times that, because I remember being perplexed by that. This was many, many, many years ago, and being like, well, wait, though, what do you mean they're going to find something? I don't get it. I'm being very childlike about it. Like, I don't understand. I mean, what he said, that there's nothing here. Why would they think that they would find something? It's like, no, they will create something, as we have known that they have done at some locations, not all, but, and that alone is pure darkness. I do remember when I interviewed Steve DeChavez a number of years ago, and I said to him, and if you're all fans of the Dead Files, you'll understand what I'm saying here. When you get to the end of the episode, and at the time, Amy Allen, she would be like, well, you need this, and this, absolute incredible types of witches, shamans, healers, stuff that you just, and meanwhile, these people are in, the smallest town in Arkansas or something. Where are they going to find these people? And I said to Steve, I said, one of the things that I think that would really benefit from what you all do, is finding a way to tell us, the audience, how these people were helped, because the way it sounds is that Amy Allen is giving all these very, very far out solutions that how are these people going to find it? It'd be nice if you all told us that you helped them, instead of just throwing this stuff out, that you actually did something to help them. And I remember him pausing and be like, yeah, that would be a good idea. And I don't know if it had anything to do with me, but the next season they started doing it. Maybe not. I don't know. But nevertheless, it's something that needed to happen anyway. So since we're talking about The Art of the Battle, which is the newest book by Father Bob Bailey, I still want to talk about dark stuff. And I'm going to talk about some stuff that happened in the Azusa Mountains that I was in, as well as maybe talk about Villisca as well. Plus, what's ever on your mind, don't go anywhere. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Moonstone Minneapolis is a queer-owned, community-focused gift shop in South Minneapolis centered on curiosity, connection, and self-discovery. Explore astrology, tarot, crystals, herbs, mindfulness, and spiritual practices in a welcoming environment for all backgrounds and experience levels. Located at 3304 East Lake Street in Minneapolis, Moonstone Minneapolis also hosts makers markets, classes, and community events. Learn more at moonstoneMPLS.com and discover a welcoming place to explore with curiosity and respect. Greg Bakun here. It's nice to get out of the Twin Cities and take some travel excursion to some great locations. Minnesota has so much to offer, which is why I love traveling down to Wabasha and staying at the historic Anderson House Hotel. Opened in 1856, this beautiful hotel offers comfortable accommodations, has a delicious restaurant, and even a speakeasy in the basement to unwind with a drink. Located next to the Mississippi River and on Main Street, there is a lot of sightseeing and shopping to do too. To get more information, go to theandersonhousehotel.com. Greg Bakun here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville. Greg Bakun here. I've been talking for a while about how spooky, fun, and fascinating the Minneapolis trolley tours are, but now there's big news. The Candlelight Ghost Tours now begin at the historic Pillsbury Club, a beautifully restored haunted mansion once owned by Charles Pillsbury himself. Believe it or not, the interior is nearly 200 years older than the exterior. How is that possible? You'll have to come out and find out. Before or after your tour, stop by the on-site market featuring a curated collection of handmade goods, artisan crafts, and locally inspired treasures. Perfect for picking up a keepsake to remember your haunting adventure. You'll also find exclusive spooky merchandise from Tales of the Crypt and Elvira. Then, climb aboard the climate-controlled trolley as we travel through Minneapolis' haunted hotspots, uncovering ghost stories that locals would rather keep buried. The mansion is restored to perfection, and there is no better way to spend an evening. Visit MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for tickets and more information. Looking for something different for family fun? A night out with friends or your next team-building event? Try the escape rooms at Lilliput. Step into the haunted mansion, race to find a cure in the bunker, or survive Night of the Wolf, all with just 60 minutes to escape. It's private, immersive, and perfect for groups of all kinds. Book your adventure now, spots fill fast. Visit lilliput.net and see if your team has what it takes to escape. And welcome back to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. What are you doing this weekend? Because I have some suggestions here for you. First of all, we've been doing this every other weekend, and boy, has this been fun. This has been pretty incredible, actually. Char Savoy and myself have been leading paranormal investigations over at the Pillsbury Club. And this has been really a lot of fun. So come on out. It's over at the Pillsbury Club, 100 East 22nd Street. That's where the Minneapolis trolley tours are. And you can join us for a 2-hour paranormal investigation inside this 130-year-old Minneapolis landmark mansion, originally owned by Pillsbury family. Led by Char Savoy and myself, you'll have hands-on participate in authentic paranormal investigation. This exclusive group will have access to areas of the mansion that are not open to the public, and these special areas are long rumored to have unexplained activity. It is worth noting that every time we do one of these, every other week, the investigation is different in different parts of the house. We do save one part of the house always the same because it is so magnificent. You have to check it out. But a beginner investigation equipment will be provided, and guests are encouraged to bring their own paranormal tools. And we also welcome those with psychic and intuitive abilities to participate and use their unique senses as part of the investigation. Once again, folks, this is a real investigation inside a historic mansion. No actors, no stage scares, just you, the mansion, Char, me, and whatever may still be lingering inside. And I just want to quickly say a couple things. That there is a restaurant now open in the Pillsbury Club on the main level. I know that's where I'm going to be eating Friday, and that's where you're going to want to be able to get fueled up before the investigation. Good food. I'm looking forward to having it this weekend. But I also want to say, we did this thing, and John, there's Norman and John who run the Minneapolis Trolley Tours. They own it. John was with us on the investigation last time we did this 2 weeks ago, and we're in one of the rooms, and I using the spirit box, and I said, can you tell me the name? Can you tell me your last name, please? Something like that. And I heard a name, but it was kind of faint. I don't know if anyone else heard it, so I didn't say anything. All of a sudden, across the room, John says, "It just said Pillsbury, didn't it?" And that was the name that I heard as well. I mean, we got the name Pillsbury through the spirit box at the Pillsbury Club. It was so cool, and it was so much fun actually to see John the whole time that we were together. He had a grin from ear to ear. He was loving it so much. And we had a number of people there who were really enjoying it as well. It's a great atmosphere, really a lot of fun. You got to get out there because, I hear so many people tell me when they either they meet me or they find out I'm a paranormal investigator and they're like, "Oh, I've always wanted to do that." I don't know what more you need. A 130-year-old beautiful mansion that is haunted, that there are two of us, Shar and myself, who have been doing this for years, and we guide it. We do not run the investigation. This is not about us doing it and you just watching. We need you as an active participant. And the best part of it all, we get responses. We get intelligent responses. You do not want to miss this. Go to minneapolistrolleytours.com. Get your tickets. We're doing it this Friday, June 26th. After that, the next one is going to be Friday, July 10th. You really got to check this out. We've had a number of people that we know go through, and they loved it. A few of them have come back a couple of times already. It's a lot of fun. So please come out and check that out. Meanwhile, in the comments, we were talking about the Dead Files in the last segment. Justin says, "I worked on Dead Files back in 2013. I was production assistant. Amy was nice. Steve is not." He doesn't mince words. Very full of himself and demanding. So we won't go any further than that on it. But let's just say, Justin, that I got stories too. But it was nice of him to come on my show when I interviewed him a number of years ago. He didn't have to, but in some ways, it was actually really good because it's probably one of the closest interviews that I've had about a paranormal show where someone was being completely honest about it and they were in the show and the show was still going at that point. There's some of these shows, not all of them, but some of these shows are, they're kind of perpetrating the myth, right? And with that, Steve wasn't. He was just, we've replayed it. Actually, it was from another radio station, KCOR, back when I was on the Las Vegas station for GhostBox. And he was on, and I've replayed it on AM 950 at least once because I put it together with my Cindy Kaza interview when she took over from Amy Allen. Yeah, he was, he has a way with words. I remember him talking about Amy, that she had diarrhea of the mouth. And what he meant by that was because he wants to get in and out. He's just, and if anyone's watched the Dead Files, a big part of it, probably the last 8 minutes of the show is going to be the reveal, where they are all sitting around the table together. It's the first time that Amy and Steve are together because they've been doing their investigations separately. And they're all around the table with the clients. And Steve said that used to be the worst part because Amy would shoot that bit. She'd probably go for about 6 to 8 hours, just that alone. And it was like I said, I think Steve just wanted to be in there and be out. And I mean, that's the thing about television in general and anything with production. It's always a lot more than you think it is. And that is one of the things that is truly incredible about that. It was actually kind of fun to hear, because he's like, I love her, but she has that, in his New York accent, he's got diarrhea of the mouth. It's just like, oh, Steve. And then they all shot an episode over at the Palmer House a number of years ago, and that's a story for another day. So we're talking a little bit about darkness, right? Our guest tonight was supposed to be Father Bob Bailey. The Art of the Battle is the name of his newest book that came out just about a month ago, talking about strategies against darkness. And he's worked with Nesper, who they're the holders. I don't know who holds on to Annabelle any longer or any of the Warren stuff, but that's the way it was at one point. Maybe it still is. I really don't know. But, he's been a part of that scene for a great many years. And I want to, since we don't have him, I hope he's okay. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about was what is it that I've experienced that is pure darkness, that I consider pure darkness. And I said earlier, evil. And maybe evil isn't the right word for it, because I think that's a whole different level of it. But certainly a darkness that kind of pierces into your soul a little bit, that that something isn't right here. So I'm going to say a word that I don't like saying all that often, but Villisca, the Villisca Axe Murder House, which is a place I will never visit again, and not because it's so scary or anything, but I'm not a fan of the new ownership of it. I'm not a fan of a big company taking ownership of a lot of different locations and jacking up the prices. I know that people can argue to me that if they don't, maybe there is nobody that can take them on. It's tough. I firmly believe one way. I know other people believe another. Another fatality of that is the McIntyre Villa in Atchison, Kansas. What place that I've been to probably about 10 times. And after Steph sold it and she needed to do what she needed to do, she sold it to Ghost Adventures USA, and overnight, the price of overnight at the house is doubled now. Whatever, right? I mean, if people can afford it and go, enjoy, because it's truly one of the most beautifully haunted places I've ever been. But this just seems to be the modus operandi, and maybe, they'll come back to me. I doubt they're ever going to hear this, but they would probably say the whole purpose of what we're doing is so that we can repair places, blah, 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 without a doubt. But it seems a little bit more commercialized, and maybe I'm the naive one, and I fully understand why I might be. But at the same time, before we go any further, I think this is where I need to get on my soapbox again and be like, if you know of any locally owned, if I don't know if you can hear my cat, because she agrees with me on it, like, loudly at the moment. If you know of any paranormal locations that are independently owned and you want to go check it out, but you just haven't for whatever reason, try to make it and try to do it and try to support them, because they're not going to last if we don't support them. And if they don't last, it's going to go get in the hands of the bigger companies, who the whole purpose of what they're going to do is they're going to make it just as pure profiteering. And you lose the personality of the location, I think, when you stop allowing the person who had owned it to continue to own it. And these things, they don't make money. They don't make money. And that's the thing that I think people don't quite understand. And I don't know why. You just have to, I hate to say it, you just have to look at them and you know that they don't make money, because they're not trying to keep the creepiness of the location alive by not fixing parts of it. They just can't afford to fix parts of it. Something like the McIntyre Villa, it was in amazing shape for what it was. And Steph did an amazing job of keeping it all really as nice looking as possible. But that's the exception, not the rule. I know that the Palmer House, now under the aegis of Dave Schrader, it sounds like that they're all trying to do a lot of work to improve on the location, which needed it, quite frankly. I always bring up the Calumet in Pipestone, Minnesota, which is now closed, which is a shame because there were so many good things that could have come from that. Once again, I am on a soapbox, and if you want to see these places that are publicly opened to continue to stay open, and you're always just like, well, it's going to be there, once things, and once I'm able to, I'll go or whatever. I understand, but when you're not going, you are risking the chance of these places closing. And then when they close, they might close for good and be bulldozed, or they might fall in the hands of someone who all they're really caring about is profiteering off the paranormal. I think you could argue that most of these places that are independently run, they're not profiteering off of the paranormal. They are trying to keep a passion alive and a location alive, because they're not making the money off of it. So, that's really where I'm so passionate about that, because since I've been doing this, and quite frankly, things, it hasn't been that long that I've been doing it. And I've seen so many good locations close, change hands, go under ownership that is detrimental to the community as well as to the location itself. These are things that I understand that you may not think about, but if you are interested in this, you're interested in investigating, then you want to take part in it, And I'm not saying that so that you can come out to the Pillsbury Club on Friday and do the investigation with us. But I am saying it so that you can go out to the Pillsbury Club sometime and enjoy the tours that they have, because they're opening up a haunted location for people to enjoy, and they're not a big conglomerate corporation, company, whatever. To get into the Lizzie Borden house, I think you're looking at $1,000 to $1,500 for the night. I'll never get into the Lizzie Borden house, and I'm not saying that to be a sad sack. I'm just saying that those type of prices have made it very difficult for people to afford. So just a little food for thought. Maybe some of you are listening and you're like, I don't care. And that's fine. But just know, if we don't support these places when they're open, they more than likely not, something like Ghost Adventures USA, they're not going to buy up every place. Some of these places will just close and be, torn down or whatever. And I don't think anybody would really want that, right? So just kind of keep that stuff in mind, making sure that you go and visit places like the Anderson House or the Grant House or the Palmer House or whatever. Okay, that's all. Now that I'm off my soapbox, I didn't get to my Veliska story, but I will when we come back. Okay, I promise we'll talk about darkness and talk about why I considered my first time at Veliska dark. That also is a feeling I've never forgotten. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com. Greg Bakun here. I've been talking for a while about how spooky, fun, and fascinating the Minneapolis trolley tours are, but now there's big news. The Candlelight Ghost Tours now begin at the historic Pillsbury Club, a beautifully restored haunted mansion once owned by Charles Pillsbury himself. Believe it or not, the interior is nearly 200 years older than the exterior. How is that possible? You'll have to come out and find out. Before or after your tour, stop by the on-site market featuring a curated collection of handmade goods, artisan crafts, and locally inspired treasures. Perfect for picking up a keepsake to remember your haunting adventure. You'll also find exclusive spooky merchandise from Tales of the Crypt and Elvira. Then, climb aboard the climate-controlled trolley as we travel through Minneapolis' haunted hotspots, uncovering ghost stories that locals would rather keep buried. The mansion is restored to perfection, and there is no better way to spend an evening. Visit MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for tickets and more information. Moonstone Minneapolis is a queer-owned community-focused gift shop in South Minneapolis centered on curiosity, connection, and self-discovery. Explore astrology, tarot, crystals, herbs, mindfulness, and spiritual practices in a welcoming environment for all backgrounds and experience levels. Located at 3304 East Lake Street in Minneapolis, Moonstone Minneapolis also hosts makers markets, classes, and community events. Learn more at moonstoneMPLS.com and discover a welcoming place to explore with curiosity and respect. It's that time of year where the weather is getting nice and it's time to get out of the house for some family fun. Lily Putt is open for the season, and you know what that means. Lily Putt is known for its mini golf, go-karts, glow golf, jump pads, kiddie carts, gem mining, and even a new arcade. Lily Putt also has interactive and engaging escape rooms like the Haunted Mansion, the Bunker, or Night of the Wolf. Lily Putt is perfect for parties and group events. Stop by lilyputt.net for more information and hours of operation. Greg Bakun here. It's nice to get out of the Twin Cities and take some travel excursion to some great locations. Minnesota has so much to offer, which is why I love traveling down to Wabasha and staying at the historic Anderson House Hotel. Opened in 1856, this beautiful hotel offers comfortable accommodations, has a delicious restaurant, and even a speakeasy in the basement to unwind with a drink. Located next to the Mississippi River and on Main Street, there is a lot of sightseeing and shopping to do too. To get more information, go to theandersonhousehotel.com. And join me tomorrow on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun. It's going to be, if we could do special episodes of GhostBox Radio, I think tomorrow would be it. Tomorrow, I'm going to have on a lady by the name of Kristen Ament, and she is a death doula. She is also a hospice care worker. She runs a hospice. And quite frankly, we're going to have a very frank conversation about death tomorrow. And I don't mean like, ghost spirits, what happens like when spirit leaves your body. So I'm talking about leading up to a person passing, what the care that they're given, what happens, as they are getting closer to it. And, talk about some of the taboo parts of the conversation with this, because I feel like, first of all, I've known Kristen for a while. I've taken part in their death cafes a couple times over at Rogue Buddha Gallery that my friend Nicholas puts on, and talking with her about what she does and her perspective on death. Everything else is one of beauty. And I think that is what I'm hoping that we can kind of bring out tomorrow. And if we don't, it's not on her. I think that's my fault as a host to not bring that forward, because listening to her talk about this subject in general was inspiring. And I think it's going to be something different, and I think something different for this show. And I think that those of you listening, if you have questions on death, please have them ready. We'll put them in the comments. We'll ask Kristen. We'll get a point of view. I think that it's worth worth the conversation. And then on Wednesday, we're going to see the return of psychic medium Jennifer Lee. If you may remember the last time that she was on, which was about a month ago, she was talking about a lot of stuff that was in the AM 950 building. And we are going to try to figure out what that is. And what I mean by that is, we're going to possibly go room by room as much as we can. I mean, we might have someone walking around with a camera or something upstairs or even downstairs. We're just not going to go. There's certain areas in any building that you just don't go into for all sorts of reasons. But we're going to ask her about spirits and anything else that's going to be there. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be a real eye-opener for a lot of us. And then Thursday, Paranormal Festivus returns. We have Heidi Hollis joining us about that. And then Sunday, the 28th, special episode of GhostBox Radio live from Twin Cities Pride. And we're going to be interviewing Brenna from Moonstone, Minneapolis. It's going to be, we have a lot of radio coming up, and I'm really excited for that. As we are in the final segment of the show tonight, I want to talk a little bit about darkness again. I started and I got on a soapbox, and I do apologize for that, but I believe very strongly about what I'm talking about with that. But I wanted to talk about Villisca, and I've shared the story before about how frightening that night was. Just pure terror for me. And I've known others who have been to Villisca and they've had sheer terror happen to them when they spent overnight. I also know people who have stayed there and they're like, what's the deal? There's nothing happening here. It's different things for different people, right? I kind of want to try to articulate, though, the darkness, and articulate in the sense of not like, oh my gosh, I heard a scary voice in the spirit box and that scared me and it's frightening. I want to kind of articulate when you're surrounded by darkness, that there's a hopelessness that sets in. It's a paralysis. It's something where that even though it doesn't physically have a hold on you, it has a hold on you all the same. And you don't know what to do about it. And at Villisca, all the stuff that I've shared before about it, all the things I've shared about it, it's scary stuff. But what you get is that moment of, this is too much. It's overload, it's frightening, and I don't know if I'm going to get out of this. And that's the scary part about it. And when I was at Villisca, and there is a lot of stuff that we were seeing. There's a lot of pictures that we as all the investigators took there that night, and it was, some of them were very scary. You'd see faces in every single picture, in every window, there are faces. And that was scary. And I think if we would have, stopped and really thought about it, more than likely would have been that I think we would have said it was pareidoia. And pareidoia is where you can see faces in stuff that's not actually faces, like a potato that looks like it has two eyes and a mouth or something like that, or buildings where the windows are set somewhere on the wall, like looking like two eyes, and then the doorway looks like a mouth, that sort of thing. That's pareidoia. But that being said, it was frightening. It was absolutely frightening. And we were seeing stuff, and some of the pictures that we do have, and the one that I share the most, are the eyes staring at us from the mirror, the human eyes, and there's no face around it, just eyeballs staring at us. That's not pareidoia. That's crap. That's like, no, thank you. But that's the sort of thing that created that darkness, that feeling of darkness. And it's, like I said, it's a paralysis. And I thought to myself, and I still actually think to this day the same thing. If we all got into a car, like it was like 3 a.m, 4 a.m, maybe, and we're like, enough of this. We got to get in the car. We got to get out of here, right? Let's just go lock up. Let's get out of here. I firmly believe we wouldn't have made it out. To this day, I still believe that, and I'm not saying that, like the doors would have locked itself and we would have been in the house. And I mean, we get in the car and probably gotten into some kind of accident. I don't doubt it. As it happens, when we did leave Villisca, we got in an accident the next day. Three of the four tires on the car I was driving popped at once. That's the sort of thing that's not coincidence. That's fear. That's darkness. And that darkness was around me for the next 3 months. Everywhere I looked, there was something in my peripheral. Always something in my peripheral. Always something off to the side. It followed me everywhere. I would wear a crucifix and I felt like it laughed at me. Other people where I worked at the advertising agency I worked at, they started wearing crosses because bad things were happening to them. It started to go all over the place. It was spreading, and it was frightening. And at that point, I didn't know anyone who could release that, who could lift that. The people I was with, who are people I don't investigate with now, like when I said, I think I have an attachment, I said this the very next day of doing the investigation. I said, I think I have an attachment. And they're just like, hoping that someone would say, oh, this is what you need to do. They all looked at me kind of like, well, I hope you're okay. It's frightening. And that fear stuck with me so strongly. And I bring it up because you don't forget the way that fear felt. Okay. You are easily reminded of it when it happens again. And it takes me to Azusa, California, outside of Los Angeles, the Azusa Mountains. My friend Roger, who lived out there when he was still living in Minnesota, he was a paranormal investigator. Go out to LA for a reason, and he picks me up from the hotel, and we go to the Azusa Mountains. We go, it takes 30 minutes to get up to where we need to go to in the mountains. And suddenly, we're out in the woods. We have a fire going, and an approved area for the fire, by the way. And he's really good at making sure that everything was handled correctly with the fire. There was a point that things started to feel sketchy. That fear, that feeling of fear, came back to me again out of nowhere. That paralysis, that kind of that guttural sort of drop in your stomach of something is not right here. And you're just sitting there. And I remember we had a fire going, and you'd look and you would see all the trees, there was probably a clearing because we had a fire going, right? Probably a clearing of, 100 feet or something like that, right? I mean, probably more. I mean, I'm no expert on any of that stuff. And then you get that feeling of fear going, and it's just like permeates, it's there. And you look back at the trees, and you don't see trees anymore. You just see darkness. You still have a fire going, but you just see darkness. And it's one of those things. It's one of those things that it's very frightening. And you could feel it. And we've seen it at the station as well, where I'm in a room, I'm in the studio, Adam is on the other side running the control panel, and we can't see each other because there is something there that is between the two of us. And I'm not saying that that's darkness per se, but it's the same sort of thing. And you're feeling that. And, hopefully we can get Father Bob Bailey on the program to talk a little bit about it, because like the book is The Art of the Battle, strategies on defeating darkness. What do we do in those situations? And that's what I'm hoping that we can, talk about at some point, because, you sometimes are just along for the ride, I think, where you just don't really know what to do. And in the case of Azusa, where we see no trees, it did pass. And part of it was that we changed our rhetoric to be something a little bit more positive. We were talking and trying to be jokey about stuff, but at the same time, we're in kind of a mystic sort of land up there. We didn't really know what to expect. And so as much as we also wanted to make sure that things cooled down, so to speak, we also wanted to make sure that we were respecting the land and the spirits in that area as well. And we started to wonder, did we inadvertently not respect them for some reason somehow? And so those are things to always think about and wonder about, because they're important. And we've talked about that on the show many times, how important that sort of thing is. So it was crazy. And then we had, and I mentioned this before, I think I've told this story before, in Azusa, had this little cat come out of nowhere. And I think it's a she, I don't know, little kitty cat, started like showing us around. It just started showing us around different parts of the of where we needed to go and stuff, almost like literally like a spirit animal. And then when she was done, she was gone. We did not see her again. Oh my goodness, great times! What a great evening. That was crazy stuff. And I'd love to do it again sometime. I'd love to go back out there. Who knows? If you have anything that you want to share and didn't get a chance to tonight, you can always send me a comment at ghostboxradio.com. Make sure you join me tomorrow as we have Kristen Ament on talking about, we're going to have a frank conversation about death. It's going to be very interesting, and I think it's going to be worth everyone's time. Everyone, thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow.